Is all that is needed to keep self-care afloat. Ladies and gentlemen, we have our chief guest, His Excellency Professor Kaptan Singh Solanki, Honorable Governor of Haryana, amongst us now. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us the chief guest, His Excellency Professor Kaptan Singh Solanki, Honorable Governor of Haryana, to have us with us. With him on the dais, we have the Government of Haryana. He couldn't be here, he'll be joining us soon. We have Sumita Misra. We also have the proud mother of Dr. Sumita Misra. We have Shri Prabhat Kumar, MG Prabhat Prakashan. Ranjit Singh Marwaha, Dr. Sumita Misra'S rock, her husband. We also welcome Ms. Suparna Saraswati, film columnist and educationist. A very sweet welcome to the two Dr. Sumita Misra, Arushi Marwaha and Gurmehar Marwaha, retired former Chief Secretary of Haryana, and Shri S.C. Chaudhary, IAS retired former Chief Secretary. Nothing spells warmth and freshness better than a bunch of roses kissed by the dew drops. I request Gurmehar. Dr. Sumita Misra, the prolific poet, brings to us yet another collection of 51 poems that stir the sense, and are named in Petrichor for her words, as heady as this that whisper slowly the secrets of life, be it about every day, every now, every dream, or every memory. I request on the dais to release the much-awaited monsoon gift. To see light and brilliance to see brilliance. So I invite Authenil Kamalpuri.
Governor Solanki plays very and to the world of poetry because, as you know, in fact, Petrichor is also actually, I believe, a perfume. So we have this fragrance coming into our world. And I think the other thing that I find significant is that Sumita, I also some 6 or 10 quaint words, and you know, among them words like little pinky finger or the wamble, which is the rumble. And you will find secret poets. Everyone has a secret connect with poetry. Whether you are writing it, everyone always grew up with the idea that I'm going to write poetry. You don't find secret novelists. You don't find secret essays. What you do find is, you know, secret poets all the time. And also readers do also have a connect with poetry. But strangely enough, it's a conundrum. Strangely enough,
publishers shy away from poetry. I don't know why they do that, but they seem to shy away from publishing poetry. So, if you look at our post-independence poetry, we look at the fact that, our poets were trying to model themselves really on the Western model, but post-independence, in fact, we really did not have any publishers. There were, I think, Dom Moraes and Nazim Ezekiel were the two poets who, when we look back, brought out the first two volumes, and those first two volumes actually were published in London because there were no publishers over here. It was only gradually that this whole business of, the Illustrated Weekly started, publishing poetry, and so poetry found its own space. A lot of publishers also came up, and since then I think that we've had a wonderful, strong tradition of Indian poets writing poetry in English. It's also really about, I don't think Indians writing in English ever felt a sense of linguistic inadequacy, because I think that there's a kind of richness, which actually that's what you see in Sumita's book as well, a linguistic richness as well. And so we never suffered from that kind of inadequacy. And, when we look at it in literary terms, it's actually seen as the empire writes back. It's as though the empire is writing back to the English that, we can do better what you can actually do. It's like colonizing the English language. And so you have a whole tradition really of poets who have therefore, kind of mastered the language, experimented with the language. People like Nazim Ezekiel who, it's like new intentions dressed in new clothes was the Indian poetry writing that was there. And that's really what is the foundation when we look at this whole tradition of writing. And when I look at Sumita's collection of poetry, it's quite interesting that you have a tradition of women poets writing, and somebody like Kamla Das, and you have a feminist tradition of writing. And what I see in her book really, in fact the very opening, the first poem, it's almost a programmatic opening. It's almost like a manifesto of feminism, wherein she talks about being feminine. The angst of modernity is there, certainly, but there's also this sense of self, of a womanhood that you see right from the beginning, and you actually see it right through the poem. So I see the opening poem as being a statement, almost a manifesto. And then the other thing that one does find interesting is that in the Western tradition, you have, absurdity that really hits you in the face. But I think that in our genres of literature, we never really hit that kind of rock bottom in terms of absurdity. The narrative was always there. The romance was always there. And, I do find that in a lot of Sumita's poems, it's almost Wordsworthian, when she's talking about how she hears these children singing, or you can recall Wordsworth saying, I hear the call of the shepherd boy. I'm at this festival, my heart has its coronal. That's, that kind of spirit you actually see. You see a lot of positivity as well. And you see a lot of celebration of the everyday, the common, the new curtains that are hung up. It's not, you don't have to have dramatic things happening for your sensibilities to actually open up. And that's the kind of richness that one does see in Sumita's poetry. And, she claims for herself as she goes along the role of a chronicler. And I think we are all very happy to leave in her hands, in her able hands, the sense of the chronicle, which she recounts actually in a number of her poems, saying, words are my strength. I'm glad I have the words to be able to say what I have to say. And as she says, my only defense is that I'm a chronicler. So we are happy that she has that defense, and we are happy that the words are in her hands. Thank you.
The monsoon air is already heavy with the whiff of poetry. It's time now to taste that scent, that heady fragrance for Petrichor.
Namaskar, dear friends, and a very, very special colleague, Dr. Misra. I'm humbled with this fortunate experience of being amidst a very august gathering to do something I hope I managed doing well. Womanhood. I am safe, so I sit by a moonlit window and exult in the night, its magic coat of starlight and shadow. It is an oasis of beauty in my frenetic day. As I write this, I am safe, and that makes me free. I am still whole. I am still unravaged in fundamental ways. But I am alive and grateful, and the fact that parts of my body have not been my dismantling or my death sentence makes me grateful. Yet I'm certain, in every life I will ask you, God of everything and supreme nothingness, I would like to be born a woman again and again, entirely with all the dizzying fragments, eyes, lips, hair, skin, form, and sway together, and the secret parts, the unsuspected parts of brain and brawn and blind courage. It cannot but be better than now, and I do not wish for easy privilege, for fatuous entitlement. I want to be here, part of and witness to every change, every bastion that crumbles. My glee in that tomorrow gives me added breaths, even in this poisonous day. A sentiment that is echoed in our everyday mundane. Love is. Love is the untying of knobby knots inside not a clump of new ones. Love is the slow raindrop sliding down a window pane, not a gush of emotions run off. Love is the crazy bug spinning silent silk underfoot, not a bundle of clumsy stumble. Love is the spiked talk singing reaffirmation in ordinariness, not another drone on the day. Love is a well-deserved chunk of dark, creamy indulgence, not the soapy taste of piety. Love is the straight line, simple, unbroken, of care, not the sine curve of fancy. Love is always mana, a moment of unimagined breakthrough, not the algebraic spell of damnation. Love is the wisest child in skin with laughter, tears, not yet grown up, just getting there. Thank you. That's the thing. That's the thing. You landed so helplessly into my lap, helpless yet born with a natural savage dominance. You were a conspiracy from the start of cuteness and command, blithely commandeering all the structures of life as I knew it, reshaping it with a liquid eye, a puckered face, redrawing and coloring with your pudgy fingers, a purple sun and indigo clouds, sun rays like straight, sharp arrows, trees with impossible fruits, little crooked rainbows, and in the middle almost, misshapen, beautiful me and you, hand in hand. You grew so fast despite my secret dread that you never would, that pink being made only of edible roundedness was devoured by time too quickly, like every one of our chocolate cakes. You took me hostage when I was unprepared for such capture, the unprepared for the aftermath, for the debris of your silly childish ways, tripping me up years later when you were grown and gone. I'm sure I have lost the most crystal moments to my own memory's failure, lost albums and videos in the garangatuan shifting of homes, lost the childish endearments we shared in the tectonic shifts of your and my growing up. This is not an epitaph nor a eulogy, but a mother's indulgence, the reminiscence of twilight evenings, the sweet sigh of dusk after a day of worthy effort, the smile of love, extravagant, yet well spent, an investment of life in life. Shukriya.